This is the art of startup war. And my name is Brian McMahon, your host and sensei. Here is what we know. 98% of startups will fail every single day, and mostly due to reasons outside your control. The Expert Dojo Startup Accelerator, we look to even up the playing field by sitting down with the greatest minds in startup investment right here in our studio in Silicon Beach, where we look to shine a light on your path to success. Now, our guests each week have invested millions of dollars into startups and are the most respected investors in the world. Now, they share all they know with you, the listener. So join us on Tuesday mornings at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, starting off your week winning the war against startup failure. Hey, it's Brian. It is Tuesday morning. It is 10 o'clock. It is the Art of Startup War. We are back for another phenomenal podcast where yet again I have got a renowned investor here in the room who is going to talk to you and help you and guide you down that difficult path of startup to how the heck do I go from being nothing, having an idea and having a bunch of hope, but then hoping to God I can actually turn it into a nice successful business which is going to make me money. How's that, Valerie? Is that good?
Sounds great.
Perfect.
Great.
When did we met first time out in the balcony, right? When my good friend and your good friend, Alex up in Santa Barbara, who is another phenomenal angel investor who has supported so many angels, brought you down and he said to me before, you have got to meet this lady. She is it when it comes to startup investing.
Yes.
Which is pretty cool. And it's a high compliment. And I think I've known Alex for about 3 years now, and you're the only person he's ever brought down and said that to.
Wow. Okay, well, I'll make sure I'll say thank you to him.
High praise, right? But high praise for a reason. So I know you've been involved in real estate investing. You're involved now in ICO and crypto investing. Can you take us a little bit through your story? Because it's always fascinating for our startups to see where do our investors come from and what areas are they really interested in because of that?
Absolutely. I think it's so powerful to be able to share your story with other entrepreneurs, to share with them your own experience and how they, can kind of look at your history, your story, and understand what they need to do to make sure that they achieve the success that they want to achieve.
Absolutely.
So I started in real estate, and I started as basically I was lucky enough to really meet an international lender and investor who hired me as his personal assistant right out of college.
Nice.
Right out of college. But I loved everything that I was learning on a daily basis. And within a couple of years, he asked me to be his business partner. We started a couple of funds in the U.S. and in Luxembourg. And I started with hard money lending in San Francisco.
Okay. So how does that work? So you have a fund. How much was the fund, more or less, and what does hard money lending mean?
Yeah, so hard money lending is short-term loans.
Right.
For residential commercial properties. And I think it was such a great start for me to take a look at real estate as the asset that you evaluate, which is now I use to evaluate a lot of different companies, other assets, and so on and so forth. So when I started, it was a fund that basically was focusing on short-term loans in San Francisco.
Lovely.
That was our main strategy. And as we were expanding and growing, we started expanding into Middle East. We expanded into Eastern, Western Europe, Asia, and it was growing really, really great. And we had a fund in Luxembourg as well, raised over $150 million.
Wow, beautiful.
And worked with a lot of different types of entrepreneurs and investors.
Yeah, because it's beautiful, right? Because the nice thing about starting from that place is I think sometimes within early stage investing in tech entrepreneurship, it's kind of this fluffy world of, is it worth 100 million or a billion or 10 billion or 50 billion? Who the hell knows what did the last person invest at? While when you start with real estate investing, you have this foundation and a foundation of reality. What's good? What has the potential for long-term sustainable growth based on an asset and based on looking where it is on the past? And I think when you start in that place, it makes an area like tech investing much easier because you have that rationale to start from. Is that fair?
Absolutely. And we were one of the first ones that was doing peer-to-peer lending. So we got to see how that industry was expanding and growing. And when I started working in crypto space, I thought it was very similar to a lot of the ways that peer-to-peer was, basically distributing capital and growing and expanding.
Did you move directly from real estate into crypto?
Not exactly. I had some business investments that we were doing. So when we set up the funds, we originally started with real estate, but we started expanding into other industries, other strategies. So we've done aircraft financing. We've done a lot of different type of business capital investments as well.
Yep.
Because the laws are different around the world.
Yep.
So we can't use real estate always as the asset that protects our investments. So we had to look at companies and evaluate companies, whether it's tech or anything really doesn't really matter. But we had to look at the evaluation and appraise the company and invest based on that.
So you started diversifying in the fund after you had a good base of real estate in there as
Yes.
well, which of course gave you then a great knowledge of how do I assess the viability of investing in any other type of business as well.
Exactly. And so through this experience, I've learned and met so many different entrepreneurs and investors. And I wanted to create a platform that I could connect all different types of people in different areas, different industries, and provide the tools that they need to really expand and make their businesses successful. And that's how my company that I founded a year ago, Majesty Alliance, basically is the foundation of connecting entrepreneurs and investors.
I love it. And then the principle behind that was, I know you yourself are an angel investor and that you like investing in companies. So you have that for yourself. And then in addition to that, based on this huge database of investors that you've built up over the years, you're now taking the entrepreneurs that you believe have got a highest probability of success and then placing it with those investors. Is that a fair way to put it?
Yes. But I also think that the investors also need some guidance to be able to invest into the best projects for their portfolio.
Yeah.
So what I learned through this experience is that the entrepreneurs have two main needs, which is mentors and capital. And I think that because even in my own experience, if it wasn't for my mentor, teaching me and showing me all different ways of how businesses work, I wouldn't have gotten to the point where I am. So I think that's as important as capital, because you need to know, even when you get the money, how do you spend it? How do you grow your business? So I think that the platform that you have is incredible for that kind of situation. Now, when we talk about investors, even though that you have extra money that you want to invest, there's still certain things that you need to know. So I educate on protecting and growing their net worth, as well as making sure that they stay abreast of tax advantages on a global scale, which is diversification of your assets in different strategies, in different countries, and everything that you can kind of.
And this is what you're teaching investors. So you're saying, as long as you have enough diversification, it doesn't really matter how risky it is on some levels. I mean, I'm kind of paraphrasing for me, because it's an interesting point that you bring up. Because if you just put everything into one space with high risk, then the chances of it making it is obviously tough. But if you put something into multiple spaces with medium risks and high risk, the chances of everything falling down, whether it's cannabis, whether it's cryptocurrency, whether it's speculative housing in China, of all falling down at the same time, is kind of low, right?
Yeah, well, when I was doing research, they say that millionaires have 7 sources of income.
Ooh,
or you
like
have
this.
to have 7 sources of income in order to be financial independent. That doesn't mean that you have to have 7 different strategies or investments. It can be the same industry, but you have to have 7 different sources where the money is coming from.
So, give me an example. What would those 7 sources look like?
It could be different deals in real estate. You could have some commercial, you can have some residential, and you can have 3 or 4 in, real estate industry. You can have a couple in, technology companies.
Yep.
You can have some in health industry.
Maybe some equities.
Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
some savings that they have in certain places. So you've got 7 different places where you've got money coming from. And again, some will, I'm sure, will be low, medium-sized risk, and others will be high risk.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you want to understand what is your goal with this portfolio. Is it short term? Is it long term? Is it a little bit of both? And, how diversified are you? Are you staying in the US? Are you expanding your portfolio to other countries? Because, if we look at the history, we never have a crisis that happens around the world at the same time, right? So if we look at real estate market, well, if it goes down in one area of the world, it's still okay in other areas. So you can always be able to diversify and, move your portfolio to different areas around.
Absolutely. Makes total sense. And how do early stage startups fit into this? Vast majority of our listeners are people who are in pre-seed, seed stage, maybe Series A, not that many Series B onwards, because I think once you're at Series B, you just have to not screw up. If you don't screw up, you're going to get follow-on funding because there's so many people who now have a vested interest in you not failing. But when it comes to pre-seed and seed, you're kind of on your own, and
Absolutely.
you gotta make them believe.
Absolutely. This is the most important time of your life, really, is when you're starting a business, and you have to show that you're committed, because you want to prove to an investor that you have done all of your homework,
Yeah.
that you know exactly what you're doing, because they're giving you their money. So you have to look at it. You have to take yourself out of the situation and think about it. Are you going to invest into your company if you weren't so tied emotionally to it? It's really about business and making right decisions.
That's a good point. If it was your money and you only had $100,000 left in your bank account, and somebody else walked up to you with this exact same proposal, would you put your 100K in?
Absolutely.
And that's a real hard question to ask early stage entrepreneurs, because of course we believe, because we would say, hey, we are putting 100K in, we're putting everything in. That's why we're actually going for a business like this. But it's a very different scenario from an investor's perspective, because it's unemotional, right? It's just about, where's my 100K going to be best placed to give me the best return?
Absolutely. And why are you doing that?
And why are you doing it? And how do you advise investors to make that decision?
So early on, angel investors, they definitely have to care about that industry that they're investing in. It's a little bit, it's different working with investors that come in later on and the ones that are very early on.
I totally get it.
And they have to know the industry. They have to be a strategic partner to the entrepreneur. Because it's not all about money. And I always like to say that money is like water. You can get it anywhere.
Yeah.
So you have to bring something else to the table. It has to be a partnership. Because only through a partnership will we actually succeed. We're never successful by ourselves. It's about our team. It's about having people that support us. And that's why I created this platform, Majesty Alliance, is to provide the support and the tools that we all need. Doesn't matter how successful we are, in order for us to manifest our dreams. Therefore, our slogan is manifest success together.
I love it. So someone comes on to Majesty Alliance, they come onto the platform, they're looking for investment. What will happen next?
So we do kind of an evaluation. We learn about the company or the investor. We learn about what they're looking for. And what's really, really important, I think it's kind of the foundation of our platform, is to promote financial literacy, because we believe that it's not taught in school.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that in order for us to really move and make this world a better place, is that we all need financial literacy. So we definitely go through kind of a conversation to understand where is this individual in financial literacy. Do they understand, what is diversification of their assets and so on and so forth. Even if you're an entrepreneur coming in for capital, we still talk about diversification.
Yeah.
Because it's important whether you're talking about your team because your team has to be diversified, your experiences have to be diversified, and your goal has to make sure that it reflects what you're working on today.
Yeah, so it's really an entire strategy you look at and then look to see, based on probability, what are the chances of this entrepreneur being able to implement, firstly, what you're suggesting, and then secondly, being able to execute. And if you feel there's a high probability, then you go to the investors, right? And you bring the investors in and say, I've got an aligned opportunity with one of the areas that needs to be one of your 7 areas.
Yeah. And I also have investors that come in for the same thing and say, hey, I'm interested in a early stage company. What would you recommend? But what we do is we do the introductions. We allow them to really meet each other and learn about the businesses, the kind of the goals and how they can complement each other. And for them to make that decision, whether or not it's right for them to work together.
And I think what's really interesting about this interview as well is that I interviewed Mike Dover at Pasadena Angels before, and I spoke about how incredibly important it is to actually get access to intermediaries and introducers as well as angels themselves, because it's one giant big ecosystem. And at one moment somebody's an angel, another moment that they're speaking to somebody else within the group, another moment they've got access to a mentor organization or an introductory group. And as a startup, our job is to make sure that if we're really putting our company out there for investment, that we have to make sure that we're touching all of these bases, right?
Absolutely.
And if somebody like you is introducing a startup to investors, it's giving a thumbs up to investors, which for the startup is really important.
Absolutely. And I think that it's because I'm able to wear both hats as an investor and as an entrepreneur. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done a lot of different businesses from the ground up: construction, fashion, real estate, aircraft financing, technology, and so many different types that I understand how entrepreneurs think and I understand how investors think. And a lot of the times they do not speak the same language.
Never.
And it's important for me to really act like as a translator between the two sides to make sure that the right information is being exchanged.
I think there should be a book which is men are from Venus, what is it? And women are from Mars.
Or I actually think it's the other way around.
Yeah, for like VCs and startups, because it's very true. We speak from an emotional perspective of the change that we're bringing, right, which will result in money at the end, while the VCs are looking for a story that starts with the money that will be made from a product fit, which involves doing some stuff with change. But we just start and end in a very different place.
Absolutely.
And you're right, that alignment in the middle is really important. And whenever you're looking for investments for yourself, what's a great startup for you? What do you look at that you think?
I look at the team. I look at...
What does the team mean?
To me, team means that you are working on something that you really believe is your life purpose. I really want to make sure that I'm working with a team that cares and that is putting their all into this business. Because I did that. I know what it's like to raise money when you don't have, when you're an early stage entrepreneur and you have to prove yourself.
Yeah.
So I come in looking at a project, looking at a team, looking at their experiences, and really evaluating everything. And it has to make sense. There's something that, you have to feel that connection.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I like that. And then, so do you want somebody to be exited before as an entrepreneur? Or are you just looking for A, the fact that they have a connection, but B, the fact that they obviously cover the skill sets that are
obviously,
required?
exit is very important, and you, even in real estate, our first question was always, what's your exit strategy?
Yeah.
Are you selling or are you refinancing? So it's definitely important, but I think it's hard to just say it's one thing that I'm looking at. It's more than that. It's spending time with the team. It's to learn about the company. It's to learn what are the goals and make sure that we're in alignment. Because if we're both in alignment, then I have no doubt we're both going to be successful.
Yeah. I like that. Very simple, very straightforward. And then when I spoke to Alex has been in here before in the podcast. Obviously, we deal with him a lot, and he loves doing check sizes around $25,000, both on personal investing, but then also on the types of introductions that you make to subsequent investors. What type of check sizes, generally speaking? I know it goes across the board, but generally speaking,
I definitely think Alex, and I've listened to a lot of examples that Alex, shared with me as well, and I think that what he's doing is the best thing. So I've been actually kind of, agreeing with the same check size for that startup.
So very pre-seed check sizes for yourself, that.
But if we're talking about companies that are more, experienced and 100 and up.
Okay, beautiful. So now let's talk about cryptocurrency, because I know this is the latest love for you, and probably not even latest love. We had even spoken about it when you first came down here, but let's just talk briefly about what is it that's attracted you to initial coin offerings, cryptocurrency? Where do you feel it's going, and what type of companies do you feel are going to be the next blockbusters?
So I think that economy in general always evolves. If we look from a couple years ago to where we are today. So what I do is I treat every single company that I'm investing in, and I look at the business structure, and not just the fact that they're doing an ICO. So it's important for me that it needs to make sense what they're working on, and not just create a coin because it's the new best thing to do. So the companies that I'm working with, one of the most important things that I look at is compliance, because to me that is key. And I treat every single company that comes to me that's looking to do an ICO as really a IPO at the end of the day, right? So the compliance that we offer to our entrepreneurs is our compliance packages that we take directly to the government, to the SEC, to make sure that they get approved in order for the entrepreneur to be able to raise that money. So to us, that's the most important thing.
You gotta be thinking of it as you're starting a public company. Yeah. And then what else?
And the second thing is banking.
Right.
Because that's very important. No matter what you're doing, for you to be able to accept investors' money, for you to be able to cover, obviously expenses that you have in any other currency other than digital currency. So you have to make sure that you take care of your banking situation, and that you don't just put it on the back burner.
Yeah, you got to take care of those. And then obviously the successful raise itself, right?
Absolutely.
And getting yourself out there to all of the investors that are going to put money into a cryptocurrency. So where do you see crypto and blockchain going over the next 5 years?
I definitely think it's going to grow, but I think there's going to be a lot of really fundamental changes to what is going on right now. We've had a lot of fraud. We've had a lot of people losing money. And I think that it was, I guess to some degree, it was natural because it was early on. But I think some real exciting things are coming in the near future.
So I know you've got some great projects coming up, which we're not going to talk about now, but I am looking forward to getting you back in here in about 6 months' time to see where you're going to. And again, it's almost a lesson for entrepreneurs as you're working with investors is as the industry evolves, as innovation evolves, so do investors themselves. So you need to stay really close with what people are investing in, what they like, what new areas are really interesting and hot to them, so that you can make sure that you're staying relevant to them in their space. I do want to finish off. It's been really interesting, and you've given some great insight to our entrepreneurs about what an angel investor thinks, and also what a great introductory source on how important it is to be seen and involved with introductory sources like yourselves. Can you tell us, you're now speaking to all of the early stage entrepreneurs out there, everybody pre-seed and seed, who are in a state of, Mike said in our last interview, he said, so it almost sounds like an act of desperation. It's almost like every day in pre-seed and seed is an act of desperation. So for all those entrepreneurs out there who are desperate to move to that next stage of success, what advice would you give to them to make sure they get there?
Believe in yourself and don't give up.
Ever?
Ever.
Isn't there a moment where it's a good thing to give up?
If you really feel that your gut feeling is telling you that this is the best thing for yourself,
stick with it.
Then stick with it.
Follow through. Break through the walls. I love that. That's a beautiful place to finish. Now, how can everybody contact you?
You can visit our website, majestyalliance.com.
I just spell that out for everybody. So
Majesty, Majesty.
That's for all the people who don't have majesties in their country.
Alliance, ALLIANCE.com. And we believe that the Alliance is so special and unique that it's Her Majesty herself.
Okay, beautiful. And then to contact you by email.
Valerie at majestyalliance.com.
Valerie, right?
Valerie. Yes.
Okay, beautiful. Hey, listen, Valerie, thanks for joining us.
Thank
It's
you.
been wonderful. I know we're going to do many, many great things in the future. I applaud you and thank you for being a part of the early stage community and investing and introducing and helping all those early stage entrepreneurs. And this is the first of many great things we're going to do.
Thank you so much. I'm very grateful for this opportunity, and good luck, everyone.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us. If you know any other entrepreneur equally ambitious as you, then share this podcast by paying it forward to other entrepreneurs who are building your own army. Now, as always, our website, expertdojo.com, is packed with information to help you grow your business, find investment, and train for victory. We also walk our talk and invest in startups every year in our accelerator here in Silicon Beach. You can always reach out to me at brian@expertdojo.com, and I look forward to being back here again at our regular time next Tuesday, 10 a.m. with another of the world's top investors, helping you win the war against startup failure.